Aubrey just blows me away, and I'm so happy to have the youth in our movement.
I'm honored and I'm humbled to be here addressing this conference in this place in the spirit of all of those pioneers who have come before my generation and all of those people who are not with us today or who are no longer with us. It's been your hard work and your trailblazing that has prepared the way and has made it possible for my generation to begin to take its place. And for that, we can only be grateful. I believe that the future holds a great promise for all of us and in all forms of our humanity and human diversity. In the past few years, we've seen transformation spread like wildfire in the thoughts of systems that had not long before been closed to us, from the inside as well as the outside. We see human dignity resounding in chasms where once only oppression was found. In the places empowerment has yet to penetrate, the dawn of hope sits on the horizon. It's an exciting time in our history, and your resilience and persistence has made that possible and has brought us to this point as we move forth. However, it is necessary to ensure in the future that that new dawn finds everyone and that it continues to find everyone. So I've come to speak to you in two parts. The first is the most basic element of the experience of a young person with stigma and discrimination, and the second is the higher level overview and the practical. What can we do? What is being done? What must be done in order to make that future for everyone a reality? And for that first part, there's not much I can tell you, honestly. Everyone in this room knows stigma runs deep. And I don't think there is anything I can possibly say that will tell you anything more about stigma than you already know. So instead of telling you, I'd like to ask you to imagine and remember. I'd like to ask you if you feel comfortable to think of the first time you were in love and of how that felt. Remember the elation, bliss, and joy, the new dimensions of possibility opening before you. Remember hoping it would last forever and how wonderful that was. Now keep that thought in mind for a moment as I ask you, only if you feel comfortable doing so, to remember some of those other times, the powerless times, the times no one respected you for who you were, what you felt, when you were unheard and unvalued, when you wondered if you deserved the reviling that you experienced, when you were told your essence was biologically flawed, your brain broken, your feelings needing to be fixed, and your future bleak. Remember the pain, that shame and fear and desperation. And now I'd like to ask you to imagine that those two moments were one and the same. That can be what it is to learn that you are or might be gay as a young person, or that you are or might be transgendered. Finding this truth about yourself, and at the same time, if you're in an unaccepting society, learning and being aware that others will not accept it. What would you do? How would you respond? And how would you handle it? In the chaos of youth, especially for somebody already in treatment or at risk, having this difference and this in addition to everything else can drive a person further into despair, and it can drive somebody who's not already in treatment into treatment. The suicide rate among young people in the sexual orientation and gender minorities is 6 times that of peers not. How can such a thing lead to this much pain? The answer is simple. It's essential. It's part of fundamentally who we are. It wouldn't be wise or possible to change it. And so we find ourselves having to learn the path of accepting it. And when a person is young, on top of that, The family of a consumer frequently has great power, and when a person is very young, the family has power even greater still. So what happens when the family is not accepting of a gender or sexual identity? What must happen, what can happen to bring hope into this situation? To explore this, I'd like to look briefly about the core issues that young people would face, young people frequently face in the GBLT community. It's not a complete list, and every point, of course, isn't experienced by everyone, but the list is basically discrimination, hatred, and stigma, family rejection, shame, fear, misunderstanding, labeling, and pathologization. This list sounds very familiar because it's a list everyone in this room has known. And so, if I can leave you with one thought, it would be this. Stigma is stigma, oppression is oppression, and discrimination is discrimination. And everyone in this room knows that. And so everyone in this room and everyone in this movement already knows, at the most basic, essential, and fundamental, that experience. There is nothing I can teach that you do not already know. So, what can be done when a young person is in this situation? And the answer is simple. It all comes down to respect. Provide a place where unconditional respect for who a person is available. Make sure that that is possible even if it is not available with providers or in the home. Follow the person's lead in finding their own selves and discovering who they are, and watch them grow. With just these few simple things, entire lives can change. And now for the remaining time, I'd like to switch gears and bring us to the GBLT caucus response. And I'd like at this time to ask everybody to come forward who is at the caucus in the Institute.
Our allies
and our allies and anyone else who would wish to stand with us in solidarity.
Beautiful.
We're going to slide down.
We received an email response from CMHS to our continuing efforts to secure involvement and to the proclamation last year about suicide in the GBLT population. And basically, the response says that it looks forward to opening up a dialogue, and it lists a great many programs of CMHS that involve the queer community and that we're involved in. To this, we must say that we are glad to see the progress, we are glad to see what is being done, but it's one thing to be told we're involved, and it's another thing to see it. So, we have come to ask for accountability. We have come to ask for direct involvement to ensure that we're in the RFP process. We train the people who are making the grants regarding LGBT issues. We have found that some among our number have been inadvertently included on the consumer advisory panels for various programs. But there has not been an active effort to recruit members of the GBLT population. This must be corrected. And so, while we are very much, we are very enthusiastic about the future, we would like to remind that that our involvement is necessary to ensure that the programs reach everyone. For instance, the CMHS scholarships reach sexual but not gender minorities. And I don't imagine this is an intentional slight. I imagine that we haven't been there to educate. Let's see. We feel that GBLT consumers must be brought in at every step of the process anytime something GBLT related is going. Bringing in GBLT providers is not sufficient to secure our involvement. And we are pleased by the white paper regarding youth suicide, and it surely is an issue. But young people are not the only people within our community that are experiencing this problem. Where is the research? Where are the efforts to address the others? Where are the efforts to address adults? And so, to Catherine Power, on behalf of the GBLT caucus, I hereby accept your offer of a dialogue and a meeting. And we wish, as you have offered, to quote, determine or give our input in determining the focus and attendees of the meeting and teleconference, or teleconference. We are here to accept the dialogue, and we are here to offer what must be done to make the assurances of inclusion and involvement a reality for everyone. We look forward to that meeting and the future that it will give all of us. Thank you.